Hey, Dr. Jeff Williams with Creekstone Integrated Care right here in Amarillo, Texas. Coming to you with a brand new video this week. This week we're going to talk about injections in your back or neck, epidural steroid injections. So we see people literally every week that are considering undergoing these epidural steroid injections. And people usually consider this procedure for several reasons. The most common reasons are conditions such as musculoskeletal pain, especially in the low back and in the neck, nerve pain or radiculopathy, and or spinal stenosis. We try to stress to these patients that there is solid research showing that these injections are only good for short-term use and only in a certain percentage of people that they're given to. And even when they do work, they usually have to be repeated since they commonly don't last very long. This makes sense when you think about it because the injections are only treating the inflammation that is caused by the irritated disc. The injections, they're not treating the disc itself. Essentially, you're taking the battery out of the smoke alarm, but the fire is still going. The National Pain Report also tells us that nearly 9 million spinal injections are performed annually in the United States. That's a huge number. Some of the side effects and drawbacks of the epidural steroid injections are as follows. Arachnoiditis, which is an inflammation or infection in the membrane that wraps around the spinal cord. Another risk is increased risk of spinal fractures due to bone deterioration. So each successive injection increases the risk of spinal fracture by 21%. Another risk is nerve damage due to the needle coming into contact with the nerves, bleeding due to underlying disorders, dural puncture, increased pain rather than decreased pain, headaches, sleeplessness or fever, stomach ulcers, and even cataracts. Now, all of this risk, think about this, all of this risk for a very short-term solution that works for less than 50% of the patients that they're given to. And these cost over $2,000 per injection. It makes absolutely zero sense outside of an emergency situation. And with that in mind, let's get to the research. After you listen to this, I'm hoping that you're going to wonder, why would anybody want to undergo such a procedure? Why does this treatment continue to rise in popularity? Why do they continue to prescribe it? You may also wonder why the medical world continues to chastise chiropractors because we treat the back pain successfully through natural remedies. Doesn't make sense. So, here's why they did it. It's obvious that the use of epidural steroid injections is on the rise every year. The authors of this paper wanted to review the evidence regarding the pros and the cons of epidural steroid injections used in adults that were suffering from low back pain that radiated, or in adults that were suffering from spinal stenosis. Now here's how they did it. They used common and standard data sources such as Ovid Medline up through May 2015. They used Cochrane Central Register of Controlled Trials, Cochrane Database of Systematic Reviews, prior systematic reviews, and reference lists. From these databases, they selected trials versus placebo interventions, or studies comparing epidural steroid injection techniques, corticosteroids, or different doses. Now here's what they found. 30 placebo trials studied the injections used for radiculopathy. 8 studies looked at effectiveness for spinal stenosis. When treating radiculopathy, the injections showed greater immediate reduction in pain, function, and short-term surgery risk. However, the effects were below the predetermined clinically important threshold. And there were no long-term benefits whatsoever to the injections for radiculopathy. Also, the injections had zero effects in treating spinal stenosis. So to wrap it up, although the steroid injections for radiculopathy showed some initial short-term relief in pain and some short-term increase in function, The benefits seen in the patients were only small and strictly short-term only. There was no effect long-term and no effect on whether or not the person had surgery eventually. The evidence in this paper suggested there was no effectiveness at all for the treatment of spinal stenosis. So again, why is this treatment on the rise? Why is it getting more popular? Why are they considering this sort of research? This is not the only kind of paper like this out there. So why, considering this research, do they continue to put patients at risk by giving them these shots outside of an urgent emergency type of context? I can't explain it. I don't know. You'll have to tell me. But I would encourage you, especially when you think about that one big statistic, that each successive shot or injection put you at 21% increased risk in a spinal fracture. I mean, that was stunning. And that one's going to stick with me. Trust me, I'll be telling my patients about that one. So I hope you enjoyed this blog. I hope you found it educational and directional as far as being able to provide a good direction for you if you've been considering these injections. On the other end of this, I'm telling you what you shouldn't do. On the other end of this, I would tell you that chiropractors, they're not all created equally, but great chiropractors really go the extra distance to come up with some wonderful answers for things like spinal stenosis, for discs. For instance, they do spinal decompression and cold laser all the time, and it's extremely effective for these conditions. And other musculoskeletal conditions in general. That's what chiropractors do. So, I would encourage you, if you're considering these injections, maybe consider trying to find you a good, reputable chiropractor in your area, and at least go in for a consult, talk to them, and see what they think, see what they have to say, see how you feel about it. Again, I hope you enjoyed this, found it educational. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can find us all over social media, so Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that good stuff. And always be sure you check out our website. It's creekstonecare.com. Thanks again for watching.